We're finally here reacting to all the world records for Mario Kart DS. Thank you again, Abel, for putting this together for me and for us to enjoy here. It's been a long time in the works and we're finally here watching it. I'm very excited for this. So first off is Figure 8 Circuit, and this is by Japanese player Taiga, the young Japanese legend here, taking the scene by storm and giving MK Dasher a run for his money. So starting off here, we have PRB for all 3 laps here in the Rob BLS, and this is the kart that has the highest rate of speed that can still snake and PRB effectively as well. And I actually remember, a long time ago, because I would also look at the Mario Kart DS players page progress and everything years and years ago, and I remember when the first 112 and 111s were happening, and so TB1 was the first one to have a full PRB 3-lap here in the sub 113. I remember the first sub 112, and the fact that we're almost at a 111 here is quite crazy. For those that may know my history with this, so I have a DS and I have the game here as well. And let me tell you that I always appreciated how difficult this game has to be, but after really starting to do some time trial myself, watching this just makes no sense. I think this is easily a top 3 hardest Mario Kart game to excel at and to be good at the highest level. My hands kept on cramping up and everything else like that. Just watching this here, it just blows my mind how they can take the whole corner like that in the off-road and maintaining PRB for all 3 laps. It makes zero sense to me. I don't know. I'm speechless just watching the driving here, because I feel like I can't articulate enough how impressive of a record this is. We have Yoshi Falls here next, and this is also by Taiga, having the sub 46 second time here, and it has been Rob BLS for a long time here. Abel notes the only major change recently in years past has been skipping one of the boost panels. That MK Dasher was the one to innovate on that one. Again, it's been a little while since I've actually watched some records, especially more recent records, and just my reference point now with me actually trying to play and time trial the game, like the fact that they're maintaining just seemingly straight curves and lines and just maintaining that tight nature of driving, it makes no sense to me. If I were to show my actual gameplay of trying to time trial this, all be able to click off instantly compared to this, obviously, but this is looking just so impressive here and maintaining PRB. It just makes no sense of trying to mitigate all the bounces there as well, because I know if you don't initiate your next main turbo in succession quick enough, you lose PRB, so it makes things a lot more difficult. So Cheep Beach is one of the heavy hitters here that we got, and especially for the notion that PRB is just so hard to maintain for this track. From what Abel was sharing with us, Topspin had the first PRB world record here that used PRB for a lap, but no one has managed PRB for a full 3 laps here, and Topspin's record lasted for almost 10 years, which is really bizarre. I think outside of maybe Super Mario Kart, I don't know if any other game that had like a 10-year plus old world record. Maybe 1 or 2 from Mario Kart Super Circuit. I don't think Mario Kart 64 had any. I think maybe MJ in that game has something close to like 8 or 9 years for a record. Maybe I could be misremembering that fact. But again, just appreciating all the different bounces that we have here with the different terrain changes to maintain PRB. The fact that they can even manage it for 1 lap is impressive enough, because again, if you don't know what PRB is, it's prolonged rocket boost. And if you chain your main turbos in succession after the start boost, you can allow for different things like going through off-road still at max speed, like how we saw in Figure 8 Circuit going on the grass like it wasn't even there, right? It allows for that. But again, any type of significant bounce or airtime where you can't chain the next main turbo effectively, you really can't maintain the PRB and you drop it. So I have seen in the past, there's been major feats of having certain tracks be a PRB only 1 lap to finally getting a PRB for 3 laps, which we'll see later on. That looked really crazy to me. I will never come anywhere close to that with my own gameplay, but I can definitely appreciate that for sure. This is where things start to get very interesting. So there was a shakeup, some rumblings in the MKDS scene in the recent past, with these new shortcuts that were done. So I believe the term is coined like a super bounce. And so from what Abel was describing, when you're going down, like, oh my God, that looks so crazy to me. Like, how? Like, what? So he was describing that when you're airborne and you hold down on the D-pad, once you bounce there with the nose up, you do like a frame perfect hop, and as long as you're hugging a wall, you can go over invisible walls, which is the most bizarre thing to me. I remember the first time I saw a clip of this before, I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I feel like this has been definitely one of the biggest delays in the Mario Kart being completely broken, for at least certain tracks anyway. And once I saw this for the first time, I'm like, there's no way this could possibly work, but sure enough it did. And this is utilized on other tracks as well, which we'll come to see later on. But yeah, like that, it just looks like you have like a button that you're pressing that just gives you a super launch off, you know what I mean? But this looks absolutely just bizarre to me. And again, just the fact that I find trying to do all the MTs and the drive tech of this game, I find it very challenging. Might just be a giant skill issue for me, I guess. But I just find that I keep on sliding around everywhere, and maintaining some semblance of a straight curve or line is very difficult. So that was such an impressive record and a real treat. Desert Hills, I'm pretty familiar with this track from Mario Kart Wii. So this is by Dasher again, and this is the only record that has a 2 shroom for the time trial. So it uses the standard LG, and the shroom strat is going to be the same as we're familiar with in Mario Kart Wii over the sand hills. So again, I might be kind of repeating myself at points here, but again, it's just my impression after starting to play this game myself finally after all this time. But when I try playing this, I've struggled to get like top 1000 rank or 900 rank times after giving a pretty decent effort to start off, you know. And just my hands hurt so much from playing, and just managing all the bounces and still just having clean driving has been the biggest task, at least for a newcomer like myself. So when I've watched records on and off since easily 2007, 2008 on the players page and longer. And I can really appreciate even more just the sheer difficulty of doing all of this. Like, I feel like this shouldn't even be possible to drive this way for these tracks. Is that a missed main turbo? Did I see? Possibly? Maybe? On purpose? I don't know. Anyway, that was really impressive to me. That looked really bizarre. Yeah, maybe at one point I'll have some better times myself. Delfino Square, and this is another track that's going to feature the super bounce tech. And the backstory on this track, Italian player G Danzi was very dominant here for quite a while, and he actually had the world record for Mario Kart Wii's version of this track early on as well. So shout outs to you, man. So on this track is actually skipping the part by the, oh my god, the whole camera angle change. What? That looks so crazy. No. Dude, there's no way. Dude, I have dreamed so much of us being able to do that normally in Mario Kart Wii. I believe just the invisible walls are too high in that game, but that is so satisfying to watch. But alongside that, dude, again, you can see oh, dude, I love stuff like that. You can see inside the track like that. Oh, that makes no sense. Dude. Oh my god. Is this real? Is this real life? Dude, I cannot believe this, man. Unbelievable. And again, this track is very hard to play. Like, if you've never played this game before, like, main turboing through the town section here like this, like, the fact they're not crashing at all doing this, again, just completely boggles my mind. I cannot even chain more than 3 MTs in the town before completely just destroying my cart that I'm racing on, you know? Good little thing at the end here, I believe you can maintain PRB, because once you hit a a boost panel again, where near top speed, it can kind of reset your potential for doing PRB. Small little detail there, but that was really a real treat to watch that record. That's definitely one of my favorites for sure. Waluigi Pinball. And those of you watching this, you may be familiar with the story here, but this is where the whole Super Bounce tech pretty much originated from. And I remember when this first was occurring, I saw a lot of clips on Twitter initially when this was first happening, when it was. And I remember just the giant cuts in records were so significant. And from what Abel has told us too, I believe it's 24 total seconds the world record has gone down by now, which is completely other magnitudes of insane. Like, look at what he could do here. This should not... Oh, that looks so cool, man. It's like, there's groundbreaking tech for games, right? But then groundbreaking tech that looks really cool, chef's kiss for sure. There's also no key checkpoints after this point from what Abel was telling us, which allows us just to cut off as much as we are too. We don't have to factor for that. But still, like, this looks otherworldly. Like, this should not be possible to pull off. Like, my goodness. I think, to my memory, I think a couple of carts were used during the inception of this at the time. I'll also put a little chart kind of scrolling through the history here after this was discovered, and just showing the incremental time cuts that were happening thereafter. But again, this just looks... It looks like a trampoline bounce. That's what it looks like to me anyway, you know? This just makes zero sense to me. This is just so entertaining. Just the fact that Mario Kart DS has something this cool alongside the really hard tech to master for driving. We have this now as well. It's so flashy. It's just so impressive. Up the Shroom Ridge now, and we have a 136.623 by Taiga once more, sporting the Egg 1 here. And this does utilize PRB for all 3 laps, and it helps to go through the grass in the middle of the track here. And I have watched records of this in the past before, and every time I'm just completely mind blown going in between the car cycles, and you're literally hugging the wall. Like, it makes no sense that that's possible. I forget when the first 3-lap PRB was successful. To my memory, I believe it did take a while to get a full 3 laps of PRB here. I don't know if they used a different cart at the time or if it was still Egg 1 the entire time. But again, just going in between, like, look at that. That should not even be possible to maintain the main turbo there and not crash completely there. Like, and if you notice too, like, he has such a brief pause of not restarting his drift just to take it a little bit tighter and restart the drift, but you didn't drop PRB. So again, if you were to drop PRB, you couldn't be drifting through the grass like his normal road, as an example. I believe maybe in MK Dasher's older videos before, I don't know if it's a custom thing, but he had like a little bar where it started draining down, and I believe that was like a PRB thing that he made visually to kind of see if you're still keeping PRB or not, which is really cool. At least to that end as well, MK Dasher has made a nice resource on how to record in high quality as well, for your time trials in this game. I'll leave that in the description for you all to see. But again, this just looks absolutely bizarre. And you're gonna fall off at the end here, right? Yeah, they're just barely stayed on the track there after the finish line. That's hilarious. But that's definitely one of my favorites for sure. It's just high octane gameplay going between all the cars and the walls here. Very impressive. DK pass, and Taiga is off the bat once more. And Taiga is going to make this look like a piece of cake, like there's no bounces whatsoever on this track. As far as, I have talked about myself being, a newcomer to playing this game and trying to do some more time trial. And there is a wonderful resource for a tech tutorial by Pika Alex that I'll also link in the description. Very handy resource. And again, once you start learning more of the tech, you'll really come to appreciate how difficult this is. Like, again, I've done some DK pass myself now on this thing, right? And I am just orders of magnitude mind blown just watching this. Like, even the small minutia, like when you're losing the MT, but you're still just keeping your cart angled slightly, where you're still mostly going in a straight line like that, but still keeping your angle. It's just so many things going on that I feel like I can't articulate enough to show just how impressive this is. Like, I can tell he's landing on certain pockets where it's not going to be as bouncy, right, going down the track here, but still, like, not only that, but like, look at that, like, almost looked like there are short hops on the snow there. I'm sure you could probably drop your drift so easily there and just lose your entire run, because as compared to like being on like flat terrain where you have a bit more airtime with your hop, if you're going down or up a slope, the airtime may be a little bit different, especially if it's more jagged and bumpy. So small things I'm picking up here, and Taiga is giving us a giant masterclass on how to time trial this track here. Like, I probably have like a 205 or a 210, nowhere close to what this is here. I'm excited for this being in Mario Kart World now. I'm looking forward to that, but that was just another world-class performance here by Taiga. Here we are now on Tick-Tock Clock, and we have Dasher here, of course, and I'm quite familiar with this, so I've watched a fair amount of his records here in years past. He's been a mighty dominant force here on this track back in the day, and Taiga beat him briefly, but then Dasher, of course, responds, and he's back on top here. Abel does mention the pendulum here is the only source of annoyance possibly for certain paces here, but apart from that, cycles aren't all that bad. If you notice here, the different cogs there are kind of rotating in opposite directions there. I have also tried playing this too for some time trial, and this is definitely one of the more tricky ones for me as a newcomer especially. Again, you know, it's just a matter of releasing your MT and not completely like losing just your complete direction on the track. If I'm, you know, maybe repeating some things a couple of times, it has its importance because, you know, I've played other games too and try to excel at time trial in other Mario Kart games like Mario Kart Double Dash. That's another extremely hard track to do. That's the extra MT that they're doing as well, by the way. Mario Kart Double Dash, I could not get anywhere close to being competent trying for time trials there. I did pretty well at Mario Kart 64 and Super Mario Kart for the time that I put in, but trying this game and Mario Kart Double Dash, I think are two of the hardest Mario Karts to excel at the highest level, without a doubt. And again, you know, we're having the biggest treat here watching world-class driving here and execution. Going off the track in style, you're still hitting the checkpoint for the finish line, and just the fastest rate of completing the race there on lap 3. You can't ask for much more than that. Overall, such an impressive racing record. Mario Circuit. We have Dasher here once more, and there is a quote-unquote shortcut or glitch here, and I remember seeing this too in years past, and this was discovered by the Japanese community from what Abel is sharing with us. And Abel was the double WR holder here before that discovery, and he says he's still bitter to this discovery to this day. I get it, man. I've been also a victim to new strategies being discovered and my record also being completely useless in the end as well. So, you know, just matter of progression for the game in the end. But that wall hop is just so cool. It can be done in online races as well. Quite tricky. But still, the optics of it, just visually looking at it, is really cool, you know? But as you may expect, though, I'm forgetting. I'm pretty sure they did maintain PRB, I think, for lap 1. I could be wrong, but obviously, if you look here, when you're going over the wall here, like they lost a good amount of speed. I don't think you can maintain PRB after that as well. Since talking about PRB in some of the recent tracks here as well, so if you drop PRB after your start boost, if you either use a mushroom or you hit a boost panel, you can reset PRB to start again. Just a little note to add there as well. But again, we take for granted just how cool this looks and how easy it looks. But look at this, like, I'm sure that's just the hardest thing to do 3 for 3 in that manner as well. You have a little bit of slowdown in the off-road to kind of give yourself more time to time it effectively. I'm sure that lends itself to make it a bit of a more manageable strategy to use there as well. But overall, that was such a cool record to watch. Airship Fortress, a crowd favorite here, is returning from Mario Kart World, and this is by Taiga. And there has been a battle between Rob BLS and Egg 1, which is going to be faster overall. Beta switched it over to Rob BLS for, I believe, a 5-year time span, and then Taiga brings it back to the Egg 1. And Abel mentions that it's still kind of up for debate which is going to be the best overall here. But again, you know, the letdown of the track is going to be this exact section here, actually. Even before I had my chance to play the game before, I could already tell this watching world records of this when I was younger in the past, that has to be just an annoying section to do, because for the game's mechanics, right, like if you try main turboing earlier there, you're just going to go so far out wide and it's not going to make any sense. So trying to time those hops effectively and cut the corner tight but know when to start your first MT again and still cutting that entire spiral tight, definitely a tricky proposition for sure. So let's look at this again. So if you're going to charge an MT there just to start, it will send you so far wide charging it, and you just go off to the distance there in a wider line. So being patient and just kind of starting to turn a little bit and then start to hop and re-angle yourself and then start the main turbo again, that makes much more sense here. When I tried TTing this track, I hit the moles every time. The fact that Taiga just takes it inside the moles there, like is just another walk in the park here, I'm definitely envious of that for sure. I cannot do that at all right now, my current skill set. But yeah, again, like, and they use the shroom here as well, only 1 shroom for Egg 1. But again, the spiral seems to be just a source of annoyance for players, it seems. But again, that was overall just a really impressive record here by Taiga once more. Wario Stadium, and we have a 147.8 here. This is the only record that is outdated in this video here. Taiga did beat this, I believe, last month from what Abel has told me with a 147.4, I believe. And so Rob BLS was used here for a while and eventually was switched back to Egg 1, I believe in 2016. And they were able to maintain PRB after these boosts here and to go through the mud. And I remember watching records for this track as well in years past, a long time ago. And just maintaining PRB here has definitely been quite the challenge. Like going through all the mud here and still maintaining PRB is insane. I've seen this bounce cut before as well. And just to show that, you know, they maintain PRB from the boost to that very shortcut there. And I believe this is going to be done 3 for 3, which again, this shows Taiga's overall just vice grip on the mechanics for the game and be able to do things really efficiently here. Because again, like, there are just small little bounces here, especially with the sloping angle changes, because again, if you just slightly tweak your main turbo or your hop, and again, if you just drop your drift entirely or you can't charge the next main turbo in time, you drop PRB. So you completely fail your run. So, you know, I haven't been able to do a PRB tech myself yet as a new player, but I understand its utility and how important it is to set really fast runs in the game and how difficult of a tech it has to be, especially factoring. Because again, compare it to a track like Figure 8 Circuit where through that PRB there is, I would think it's probably the easiest track to do it on, but now we have this track here for maintaining PRB of all the bounces here and the little jagged edges throughout the track. This shows different levels to gameplay here, and the fact that we have another masterclass once more by Taiga, this shows how impressive his overall skill set is here for the game. So that cut is always really cool, that giant respawn cut. This is definitely one of my favorites to watch. Peach Gardens, and we have this by Taiga here, and this is one of the more memorable tracks for me watching world records here when I was younger in the past, because there was progression of how long you were keeping PRB for. And I still remember when PRB was lasted into lap 2 for the first time. That was really big watching everyone's posts on the players page way back in the day. And we're going to see this is actually held into lap 3, and they changed their Shroom strategy. And to me, it makes no sense how they're able to maintain PRB for this long, because going up and down the slopes here out of that maze and into the maze too, there's any pocket of airtime, again, that's delaying your next MT charge to maintain that PRB is going to be something that's difficult to manage. But the fact that they're maintaining PRB, like you see like that little slope there, right? If they like didn't hook in that way and have a little bit more pocket of airtime like that pocket of airtime was very small, but they were still able to maintain PRB, and they're going through the grass here, the grass where the normal Shroom is for Mario Kart Wii as an example, the flower bed before the hedge maze, and all the while still weaving and diving as tight as possible in the hedge maze and going by the change humps as well. What more can I possibly say? And I believe the Shroom spot is going to be used after this here on the downward hill from what I'm being told here, right? Yep. And so again, as mentioned too, when you use a Shroom, it kind of resets your potential to start PRB again, and of course they maintain PRB to the very end here. So I definitely remember when I was younger, the major milestones for holding PRB with the progressive world records in the past. So that is certainly one of the biggest treats of a world record to watch. Bowser's Castle, and we have a low 148 with the raw BLS. And shout outs to Matt Utter, because he was the one that was toying around with the idea for this in years past. I still remember seeing this development on the players page too all those years ago, because again, this is by far one of the hardest tracks to play in the game. And with the little corkscrew spinning thing, it's a bane of my existence playing this track, no matter which form of Mario Kart I'm playing here. And especially, like, look at this. The fact that you can chain main turbos on that just doesn't make any sense at all. And from what Abel has given me more details as well, is the fact that you can use raw BLS, it makes the lap 3 cycle more like a lap 1 cycle. But we're going to see here that he actually plays it a bit safe on lap 3 and amidst a couple of main turbos here. But again, like, I just watching that section there alone is so frustrating to me in the Mario Kart Wii version of this as a custom track. And using like, look at how amazing that looks. You're not flying off the whole rotating thing. That makes zero sense to me, honestly. It's actually interesting how the cart just kind of just hooks down to the platform where you're charging it empty like that. That's quite interesting. To my memory, I think at the end you can do a little main turbo shroomless cut to go to the finish line in the lava, I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure that's what they still do. But again, just the fact that they can actually use this card here on this track is nothing short of incredible. And all these precise hops and not falling off there as well with this card is actually pretty just insane to me, honestly. But I know Abel does anticipate that this will definitely go lower again if you're playing lap 3 a bit more risky as well. But for what it's worth though, like, all that's being done so far is just so impressive. And as mentioned before, you can do a little shroomless little tech there with the main turbo and hit the finish line just in time before counting out of bounds. Overall, what an impressive record. Most certainly a crowd favorite is Rainbow Road, and none other than Dasher is still on top. And this is another nostalgic view for me as well. I watched plenty of these world records back in the day when I was younger. You know, when I was an up-and-coming time trialer for Mario Kart Wii, you know, it was back in 2008. Those were the times of the forums. And again, that impressive is so impressive. And then this other cut they're going to do here by the pipe is also another impressive shortcut there as well. But, you know, when I was going through the Mario Kart Wii threads, I'll read MKDS, Mario Kart Double Dash, SMK, Mario Kart 64. Like, I was a fiend for watching everyone's progress for other games and different champions for different games as inspiration for me as an up-and-coming competitor for time trial. So I always remember Dasher being here on Rainbow Road, and I remember watching this for the first time just all those years ago, and I'm like, dude, that's just so impressive that you can do that giant cut, but you don't like get pushed down by the spiral, you know, the loop. You just kind of just go through the track like that, you know. From what Abel has told me, the only real major change is how they do the MTs after this here. But apart from that, it's been pretty standard after all this time. But again, like, this is just one of the coolest records to watch. Because again, look at this. The little setup here. Go like that. And the fact that you're not like clipping onto the downward road, right? But you're going through the road to clip back in. Like, that's just so cool. I know people can either hit the pipe there or just not get the respawn right as well with that tech as well. So definitely a very challenging track and category to play overall. But to no one's surprise, Dasher here is the legend here, and he gives us another masterclass once more on how to play this track at the highest level. So overall, that's definitely an amazing record to watch. On to the retros, we have Mario Circuit 1. This is by Taiga once more. And as we discussed earlier with, you know, very bouncy tracks and stuff like that where it's hard to maintain PRB, we have completely benign plain Jane MC1 here, also akin to a figure Circuit 8. So we're going to take full advantage here into PRB all 3 laps. It was Egg 1 and then Poltergust 4000, and now we're here to the Rob BLS for his max speed stat. And of course, this is just any other day, a walk in the park, another day in the job as standard for Taiga here. This looks completely perfect to me. To the untrained eye, I don't know how much more you could possibly do here. It just looks like the off-road is just a suggestion. You know, you can do whatever you want if you're Taiga and Dasher and these mighty titans for Mario Kart DS here. But again, that's such an impressive record and showing this the crisp lines, maintaining a PRB, main turbo speed, all the good things. In contrast, we have Moo Moo Farm, and again, this is by Taiga. And what's interesting about this is, I remember this too, is that Taiga had just a giant gap on his total sheet, and this was Moo Moo Farm. I remember watching his timesheet in years past, and Abel confirms that he really skipped doing this track significantly until 2022, and once he gave this the Taiga treatment, he became overall champion. And so it's just funny how it has it where you can be just so dominant everywhere, but if you just dislike a track or you don't want to do it, then you're not going to be an overall champion until you actually give it a full run, because it's your total overall champion, obviously. But in stark contrast to, you know, MC1 and Figure 8 Circuit, we have all the bounces here, obviously, and Taiga is showing us that it doesn't mean anything at all. If you're the master of the game, you can do whatever you want. And also the mole cycles are static, they are predictable, they aren't completely RNG like in Mario Kart 64, where when I time trial Mario Kart 64, that was actually my highest ranked time on my players page years ago as Moo Moo Farm 3 lap of all tracks. And the mole cycles were so annoying, but in this game that's not an issue at all. And we have close to a 59-second time here, but overall, what an impressive record here by Taiga. Up now to Peach Circuit, and this is once more by Taiga. And in the history here, there was the Egg 1, there was the Poltergust 4000, and now it's Rob BLS in recent years. And this does sport a little tree clip there like that was discovered seemingly on accident by Fabian Da Silva way back in the day from my Abel shares with us. And this is another case where it's completely flat track here, so PRB to your heart's content here overall. I would only suspect that that tree clip on lap 1, it allows you to maintain PRB, because if you don't hit that, from how tight the corner is, you probably couldn't maintain PRB right from the jump on lap 1. So if that was the case, you would probably just, you know, take that first corner, maybe use your Shroom early to reinitiate PRB, because obviously on laps 2 and 3, as we saw here, you can control your angle of entry to the first curve, so it doesn't exactly matter anymore. But again, look at this, probably shooting a straight line. Look at that, easy peasy lemon squeezy, am I right? Oh my goodness. Up to GCN Luigi Circuit. This is once more by Taiga here, and players refer to this as LC1, since there are 2 Luigi circuits in the game. And as you're going to see here with multiple boost panels here, they do again take advantage of resetting PRB with that. And again, whether it's a boost panel or using a Shroom, you can reset your potential to string together PRB. And from what Abel shares with us, again, Fabian Da Silva, he was the one that innovated Rob BLS here. but TB1 was actually the first one to get a world record here with this, and then Fabian Da Silva was the first one to get a sub 111 here from the historical info that Abel so nicely gave us for this video here as well. So again, it's just so cool because you basically are able to maintain PRB essentially the entire time. Because what's nice too is if we look here on the boost panel here, right, when you go off here, even though you're having some airtime and a delay, you're still getting the full boost panel effect. So you still have enough time to squeeze out a main turbo and maintain PRB. So again, you know, the up and down elevation change is a room for bounces there, but the rest of this is pretty fair as far as having not a lot of bounces here to affect your run overall and for kicking out PRB. So from, you know, the first sub 111, now we're at 108 here. This shows the levels that have been established after all these years. So overall, very impressive. Donut Plains won here, and we have a sub 51 second time by Taiga. And the history here is interesting. So actually, Abel, former champion overall from Mario Kart DS and the one that made this video for us as well, he was the first sub 52 second time here, and it used a dry bomber previously and it had a longer MT stab, which made PRB a lot more easier to do. But eventually players were able to be good enough to use Egg 1 here for its trade-off for speed. And again, I think it's just a hallmark for not only for this game, but I think most Mario Kart games in general, where maybe if you know certain vehicle combos or just certain strategies are faster, but the driving tech is just really hard to do for the time period, it always just takes at least just one person just to show that it's possible humanly, and they start doing it, and eventually the average standard for the player base rises. I've talked about that concept a ton for Mario Kart Wii in the past, and I feel like it holds true for this and for the other Mario Kart scenes as well. So, you know, seeing feats like this and hearing the backstory like that is always very gratifying to hear that, and the average skill level increasing over a longer period of time. Frappe Snowland here, we have Dasher here once more with a mid 136. And the history here is also interesting. So Abel shares that since 2017, Dasher is the only one that has used the raw BLS here. Both Japanese player Rupa and Taiga intermittently has tried challenging with the Egg 1, but then Dasher quickly responds back with the raw BLS. Actually seeing Rupa's name was definitely a good throwback as well. I don't know if Rupa is still active anymore, but that was definitely one of the players I was watching a lot too. Rupa and Beta way back in years past. You know, I haven't really frequented the players page all that much in recent years compared to when I was a lot younger, because at that point too, there was no Discord, no Skype, YouTube videos, we're still in its infancy, and the whole community feel wasn't like there and what's common for us now. It was all forum posts and thread driven, and it's just giant nostalgia for me because I loved reading forum posts back in the day. So you know, seeing old names like Rupa and Beta, etc., it's definitely you know, cool to see that as well. But of course, as we're seeing here again, masterclass driving by Dasher here. The gap cut done lap 1, also lap 2 with the mushroom as well. But again, you know, just doing complete masterful driving here. Doing that shroomless there lap 3 as well. Not cutting off as much compared to laps 1 and 2, but still it is a shortcut regardless, obviously, right? And again, the fact that, dude, he barely pixeled the snowman. What? I tried playing this, right? And I'm telling you guys, I have really been enjoying this entire showcase here, because it's been a while since I've really watched a lot of the records here, and I was going to do this a while ago, but I had some interruptions here and there, but this has been such a real treat being able to finally sit down and watch all of these once more. So BC2 is hallmarked as one of the most challenging and frustrating tracks to play for players, especially at a high level, so it's not really played as much compared to other tracks. And we still have a sub 130 here by Dasher with raw BLS, and from what Abel has shared with me, the timings of the hops of the zipper panels, the little ramps, is a one frame, like a frame perfect timing for this. So of course it lends itself to a giant source of frustration, because I'm sure either you have more airtime than desired, or you go into the gap and it's just so frustrating to play overall. But again, weaving and diving the little narrow roads, and look at that, you barely pixeled the thwomp like that. Like how is that not awesome to look at that? Like completely insane. That's just so cool to me, because you know, I feel like I'm immune to a lot of tight turns for Mario Kart Wii in my native game, but I'm sure for any experienced player for any Mario Kart game that's native to you, seeing this very tight turns and pixeling stuff like that, it never gets old though. You can watch the same thing for like 15 plus years, but when you see like stuff like that doesn't get old whatsoever, you know? You know, may not be a giant surprise when you watch certain things, but it's still just so impressive. Like look at that, completely weave the hop and the main turret boost just around that thwomp there. That's just so impressive. And ooh, whoa, okay, that was insane. Either that was a mess up or a setup for the Shroom, but either way, I could definitely understand this being an annoying track to play for time trial. Even in Mario Kart Wii as a custom track, this is pretty tricky there as well for those ramps. There's a couple different versions of that CT in Mario Kart Wii, and it's still very difficult. This will probably stand for a while. I would only come to guess here for this track. Baby Park. We have a low 42-second time here by Taiga. And at least in years past, there was the Dry Bomber, and Rupa had a 42.6 time with that. The current best time with that kart is a 42.5 by Dr. Mario. And Matt Utter had the world record here for about 5 years, and now Taiga is back on top here overall. And so as one might come to expect, it's Baby Park. There's no bounces, no gimmicks here, just an oval and 5 laps in this game in particular. Compare that to Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, where there is the grass at the end of either end of the oval there to cut a little bit more off. But overall here, you're still able to maintain a high rate of main turboing speed, cornering very tightly, and it's a 42.3 I think from what we saw here. So you know, over a couple of years, only like 0.2 or 0.3 has been cut off. So I would only anticipate this is near its maximum. Of course, you know, you can tell me if I'm wrong here, but I don't know how much more you can really do with this time trial here. So overall, very impressive. Koopa Beach 2. We have a sub 40 here by Dasher with Rob BLS, and this did use the Poltergust 4000 in the past, but then Dasher adapted the Rob BLS here to achieve the sub 40-second time here. And I have to mention this, so a former Fast Lap world record on this track was actually achieved on a plane actually, which was so cool to learn that. Who sets world records on a plane? Like, that's just so cool to me. Abel also mentions that using Rob BLS and drifting on the water mechanics can be a little bit tricky. So all the more reason to show just how impressive of a run this is overall, because look at this. Going through all the off-road, again, it's like a giant suggestion here overall, right? But still, you might go into the off-road here by the finish line. Yeah, exactly. So again, I remember bits and parts of records here from all the records I've watched in years past before. But that's just such an impressive feat to be had overall here on this track. So job well done. Choco Mountain. And we have Taiga here, a 143.7 with Rob BLS. And this is regarded as one of the hardest things to pull off with maintaining your rate of main turboing and PRB up until the hill section. Just for how this, look at how narrow this is. Like natively in Mario Kart 64 is already narrow, especially when you play NTSC on that game. But here with Rob BLS 2, just a complete masterclass of driving here once more. And also too, where you're going to see at the end here with the little hills at the end before the finish line, trying to hit the bounces off there correctly for the lap transition is very tricky. You know, not only for this game, like look at that, you land completely clean on the downward slope like that, and that's a giant source for time loss as well, for time trials within Mario Kart 64, where this game, where this track actually comes from. So it's just, you know, it's pretty cool to see how, you know, the growing pains for certain tracks, right, for time trial, it holds true for different games that has the track in it as well. So you know, it's a growing pain for Mario Kart 64. I've watched, you know, Matthias and MJ and other players and Dan in years past on their streams and videos where the hills can kind of kill the runs overall, right? And I can only anticipate in this game as well, the hills at the end, if you don't clip that right, if you don't land completely on the the back part of the hill. If you smack right on top, probably get high air time, dead air, lose speed, and you lose your run overall, or you just you can't get the world record, obviously, you know. But still, using raw BLS as fast as this is, and not falling off the ledges here, and let's just look at. So can we appreciate how close you're going to all the walls here amongst all the other times here as well? Like, that is just otherworldly impressive levels of driving here overall. I definitely appreciate this one for how technical of a time trial this has to be for these folks. So overall, well done. GBA Luigi Circuit, or LC2. We have almost a 112 here. This is going to be the only dry bomber world record that we have in this WR set here right now. And Abel shares with us that it still lends itself to maintain PRB effectively. You're trying to space out your MTs a little bit more, just to maintain good cornering overall. And this track has always been really cool to me, just for the whole rain effect and just a different type of atmosphere for the track. The optics has always been really cool to me whenever I've seen this track in years past. But also interesting to note is that lap 3 is also a world record. And so this track is not uncommon to have dual WRs in the same run, where you can have your 3-lap world record, but then the fast lap world record in the exact same run. I have seen this before as well in years past for Mario Kart Wii for certain categories, as an example. If you happen to use all your mushrooms on one lap for certain strategies in that game, I'm pretty sure other games have had that as well. Even probably in Super Mario Kart, I believe that they have also had probably dual WRs in that game too, at least to my memory, or maybe in years past. But that's a really cool source of trivia there as well. Imagine you finally get 3-lap WR. Look at that wall hit. So cool, man. Keeping that giant direct line there. And again, you finish your run, but you get double WR. That was a mouthful. Oh my goodness. What an impressive run. Well done. We are about to encounter some more weaving and diving for vehicle cycles here on Mushroom Bridge. We have Taiga here, Rob BLS, and Abel shares with us that the Shroom strategy has changed in years past, which we'll come to see later on. But this is not for the faint of heart playing this track, especially for all the vehicles you have to dodge here as well. And this corner is so annoying to me as a newcomer, because Mushroom Bridge is one of my favorite tracks for any Mario Kart, especially from where it originates in Mario Kart Double Dash. And that curve is so deceptive in this game, and I don't know why. I try maintaining my main turbo line around this giant curve. It never goes like that. And of course he goes and throws Neil in between the trunk there. My God. Literally. Jeez. Wow. But yeah. Abel mentions too just the stamina that you need to be able to maintain this rate of driving overall is extremely difficult to do. So for sure, not for the faint of heart. I was halfway expecting to go in between that truck there. You can't have them all, right? But in any event though, look at how impressive this is overall. No real glaring mistakes here. Just an overall clean run here. Barely getting out the sub 109 here. Very impressive. Here we are, Choco Island 2, and we have a low 44 by Dasher here. And fun trivia here. So in the final God standards for Mario Kart DS were achieved by Dasher on the exact same day that the MKDS documentary that Abel created was also uploaded too. So at this point, if you're watching this video, I'm sure you've had to have watched that video, but if not, it's one of the most amazing Mario Kart videos that I've ever watched. It's so well made, and I'm going to link that in the description for you all as well. And Abel tells us as well this is kind of similar to a Koopa Beach, but this is definitely harder of a task to pull off here. So raw BLS, still barely avoiding the piranha plants here and all the little bumpers here. Like, can you just appreciate how close you get to the bumpers there, but you don't actually hit it? Because I'm sure many of the times they probably barely hit one pixel of that, and you kind of just jet off and you lose your entire run overall. But yeah, so it's a fact that some of the final God standards were hit on this track. Very gratifying to see. Banshee Boardwalk, another very tricky time trial. And of course, they're using raw BLS here. Taiga is on top. And at least in years past, Japanese player Beta was on top at the time. And then Taiga also adopted raw BLS here. And from what Abel shared with us, there's also another main turbo strategy that he does as well at the end that Taiga discovered on his own. So again, just from how narrow this is, I almost feel like in particular, the N64 tracks that are in this game, at least for scale, it seems pretty similar for the native game in Mario Kart 64. I still think Mario Kart 64 is a little bit wider compared to this here, but the fact that you can actually just be snaking through this and doing all these corner jumps with raw BLS just makes no sense to me, honestly. And I'll probably fall for the first main turbo trying this myself, you know. But I am going to be making a full timesheet for myself. I have a larger Mario Kart project that will take a long time to do, but involves all the Mario Karts and time trials. So look forward to that probably in years time down the line. But in any event here, this is just such a clean run overall, not crashing whatsoever, no drop main turbos, going over the gaps here, where I think that's also underappreciated too, where, you know, cutting over a corner like that, not only are you trying to cut off a certain amount of it, but also not landing too short. I am sure if you land too short, either you lose speed, or maybe you just completely clip and you go straight down and you don't complete your run. So I'm sure maybe, you know, higher tier players, maybe they cut off a little bit less by choice. But of course here, Taiga is just cranking out pedal to the metal here, squeezing out every last ounce of time save here overall for a very impressive mid 142 here. So what an amazing run this was. Sky Garden, and we have this by Dasher here, is now a low 59-second time. And the first sub 1 minute here was certainly a momentous achievement for the community. And now it's actually even lower than that. Now it's at a low 59-second time. And, you know, Taiga and Dasher trading hands back and forth here as well. Maintaining PRB, going over the gaps here, right? Like, look at that vine clip. Whoa, that was crazy. Jeez, I think that's new from the last time I've watched a Sky Garden world record. I believe Abel mentioned that to me as well with some of the anecdotes and information he shared with me as well. But yes, again, they got a sub 20-second on lap 1. Very impressive achievement here overall. Again, maintaining PRB the entire time. And I wonder what the future of this track is going to hold. I don't know if sub 58 can happen here because, again, I've been trying to watch a lot of different things as I'm reacting here right now to all the records here, and I feel like most MTs look like they're basically first frame to me. So I don't know how much more could possibly be squeezed out of these runs here overall. But the fact that it's a low 59-second time now, that's just other worlds of impressive. So overall, job well done. The final track, Yoshi Circuit. We have this by Taiga here, almost a 123. If y'all have watched this as much as me, I appreciate it. This has more than delivered watching all of these here, and motivates me to try and get better at this game long term for future Mario Kart projects that I am working on that will take a long period of time. But regardless though, let's focus on the record here. So maintaining PRB after the cut is a hard task from what Abel shares with us, and so specifically in the fast lap world record, Taiga maintains PRB after into lap 2 to do the fast lap world record for that. The ending grass cut was actually done by German world record player Sasha back in the day, and so Taiga is able to do that as well. And Abel does anticipate the first 123 here should happen before too long. And again, just all the slopes up and down, the bounces, etc. I can understand why maintaining PRB is definitely a hard task on a track like this as well. But I feel like Yoshi Circuit is definitely a fan favorite, especially when it came back as well on Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. It's definitely one of the most popular tracks in that game, at least from what I've seen. But yes, overall, this has been just such a real treat, honestly, watching this here. After this run is finished, I'm actually just gonna go just to another part of the set list here. Just has my closing thoughts here. But this run here looks just so impressive overall. I am sure Taiga will get that 123 before too long. But that record in itself looked more than plenty good enough as it stands right now. This has been so fun to do going through all these here today. This has been a long time in the making here, and I'm so glad that we're finally having this reaction here now. And if you're familiar with my channel, I primarily do this with Mario Kart Wii, and I started doing this with Mario Kart 8 Deluxe in recent years past, and I do want to do this for every single Mario Kart. I want to give all the Mario Kart scenes their time to shine, because I feel like every Mario Kart scene is unique and really cool for their own right, just for the deep, rich history that they have, and strategy discovery and pushing the limits and mechanics of all the Mario Kart games at large. And, you know, just the fact that, you know, I have a nice platform and everyone enjoys Mario Kart, clearly watching my channel, and especially watching Mario Kart games performed at the highest level. There are different ways you can enjoy a Mario Kart game, from the casual level to competitive, just to seeing, you know, what can be done at the highest level of speedrunning in general. And I feel like for people that do time trials like ourselves that are watching this video, or for those that are fans of it, this is a very unique form of speedrunning. It's brutal. It's individual levels, ILs for short. There are different games where they have ILs, so it's very short segmented speedruns, compared to a game, let's say Mario 64, where it's 120 star, 1 hour, 30 minutes and change, right? Where it takes a different level of patience and tenacity to get after longer categories like that, or even very long form speedruns like Final Fantasy VII speedruns, where those were like 6 hours and change, right? This is 2 minutes or less for most Mario Kart tracks for the majority of the Mario Kart games. And so it's very reset heavy. Sometimes you're not getting anywhere at all past lap 1. You're in lap 1 purgatory for a long period of time, right? And so it can be very mind numbing, but at the same time, I feel like the reason that we'll come back to it is it's just a really unique way to speedrun and to really get as close to perfection as possible. And I feel like for world record holders especially too, maybe you might agree, but you know, once you get your world record, if you grind it for so long, it's, on the one hand, it's very gratifying, but on the other hand, there's a very slight eyesore to you watching your own world record back that maybe to the untrained eye you don't really know, but you know it yourself. You could be so satisfied with the achievement that you did, but you're not completely satisfied yet. And so it's always the pursuit of perfection when you know that you can do better. And I feel like that's just one of the beautiful things about any form of speedrunning, where you're trying to excel at the highest level that you know you can achieve, pushing bounds and limits, making new discoveries, and you know, creating something that you really enjoy watching back, and that your efforts were rewarded after all that time, right? So, you know, kind of a big monologue here, but you know, I hope to be able to do this for all the Mario Kart games overall. Again, I must give the biggest shout outs ever to Abel for creating this for us to watch and enjoy. He has his own version of this on his YouTube channel. I'm going to share that #1. Shares overall channel #2, and also his streams #3. So he is a former overall champion for Mario Kart DS, and such an amazing person and such a true representative for the Mario Kart DS scene as well overall. I'm going to leave information for MK Dasher and Taiga's information there as well, and to support all these players for their endeavors as well. And as mentioned, I really look forward to doing this for the other Mario Kart games. Because I did do competitive time trial for Super Mario Kart and Mario Kart 64, probably for a span of maybe 6 to 8, 10 months for those games when I was younger, and I got pretty competent. I believe I was almost top 100 NTSC for Mario Kart 64. I think I'm still top 200 now of my, you know, 15-year timesheet at this point from 2010. And then for NTSC for SMK, I believe I peaked at top 150 in that game. So I got pretty decent pretty quick in those games, and I really like watching WRs in those games too. And again, that's kind of more from my time as well, where, you know, I'm a little bit older now, I'm 31, and so I'm more from the era of the whole forums and threads and stuff like that. And I want to give those older scenes their time to shine as well. I really appreciate all the Mario Kart scenes, but I think we can shine more of a light on the older Mario Kart games as well, because also one question I get quite a bit as well on my streams or comments on YouTube once in a while is, do you think there's going to be an unbeatable world record or a time where a record can't be beaten anymore? And I always inevitably say no, because Super Mario Kart, the oldest Mario Kart in the series, it still has its world records broken still, and that's the first Mario Kart in the entire series. So, and I think WRs in those games are really impressive overall to watch, especially Mario Kart Super Circuit and other games as well. So if you're looking forward to that, let me know in the comments. Let me see which game you'd want to see next. And again, I just want to give all the Mario Kart communities their time to shine and to maybe shed light for other players that played those older Mario Karts, and maybe they want to get involved as well, maybe do time trials in those games as well. So it is my belief there's always a speedrunner, let alone a time trialer, born every day. And so maybe you're watching this, maybe you're an avid time trialer of other games or Mario Kart DS overall, or maybe you played, you know, in years past and you never saw speedrunning in this light before, and the beauty and what it has to offer and the coolness that it has, especially just for the pursuit of perfection and bettering yourself in the speedrunning endeavor. So that was a giant monologue, but that's how to get all that out there. So hopefully you guys enjoy the sentiment of that in any type of regard. With that being said, thank you all for watching. There is more Mario Kart content on the way. There is another Mario Kart video in the works for another Mario Kart game, so I'm gonna look out for that as well. But until then, thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you guys soon. Take care. Peace.